All right.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Industrial Amputation. Today, our featured guest is the ultra-talented New York-based musician Zachery Allan Starkey. Zachary, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
You're
Welcome,
welcome.
Zachary.
Hey,
Hello,
Zach.
everyone. Hello,
Hello.
Charles. Hello, Joe. Hello, Joey. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for being
Our
on.
pleasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I listened to some of your tracks. Dude, it's on.
Yeah,
Thank you, man.
It's
Thank
fucking
you.
on.
yeah.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
No, really
No,
do.
my dining room was a little bit of a dance studio this morning.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
I
I
And he
appreciate
was
that.
texting.
Getting
He
down.
was texting.
Yeah.
He was texting and dancing.
I was texting on the dance floor, baby.
Oh, I appreciate that, guys. You know, from pros such as yourselves who've been in this business for a long time, and obviously you developed the ear, and obviously with Charles being
Yeah.
bassist,
Yeah.
it's always good when someone who does the rhythm
Yeah.
thinks that what
Yeah.
you're doing is on point. So I
Yeah, it's
appreciate
on
that.
point.
No,
No,
it's,
it's on
it's,
point.
Thank
it's
you.
wonderful work. Wonderful work.
Thank you.
So your latest
Thank you.
album is under the name Zaz, which is spelled Z-A-S, and it's called
Um,
Fierce City.
Yes, it's just Zachery Allan Starkey. They usually people just shorten it, but my artist name is actually fully Zachery Allan Starkey.
Well, it's an impressive foray into electro-tinged world of dark wave, rife with nuances of synth pop, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you talk about, sure, can you talk about the creative process that went into writing and recording this record?
Yes, yeah. So Fierce City started life as a around the end of 2019 and then going into 2020. Just the world was very dark, and New York was very dark and becoming
Yeah.
darker.
Yeah.
Even before the pandemic hit, I mean, New York was just getting rougher. I was working right when the pandemic hit. I was doing some work for this agency, and they were on close to Madison Square Garden. And that part of Midtown West along 8th Avenue, 6th, 7th Avenue, it's sort of still 1975 over there. I mean,
Oh,
it's just,
yeah.
it's still super grimy and sketchy. And but it started to become noticeably more grimy and sketchy. Not that I think, and not that I think that's a bad thing. But it became markedly. There was a market, and businesses started closing and whatnot. Empty storefronts, even before the pandemic hit. I mean, this was going to happen. The pandemic just sped it up, but a lot of New York's economic collapse was just kind of going to happen anyway. So my music is all about New York and my life in New York and my experiences, and I try to put the city and my experience of the city into the music. So I started to notice this increased. I mean, New York's always grimy. It's just part. It's just part of the character of the city. But I just this increased polarization and people becoming just across the board, regardless of their political affiliation, becoming really fearful and scared. And then, Fear City was the name of a pamphlet the NYPD put out in the 70s. It's bullshit. This is kind of because the mayor cut city services. And I mean, New York was rough in the 70s, but it wasn't like that pamphlet says where you're going to get robbed if you're outside past 6 p.m.
Oh, wow.
But
I recall those. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah. You were on the planet then.
I was.
Yeah. But
I was on the East Coast at that time too. Virginia, Norfolk. Yeah, I was kind of in that area for that part of the. So I do recall like some of the inner city stuff and the just how hard it could be out there. But that pamphlet, I was a little kid. That thing scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. It's I'd seen it in a book or something, at the library when I was a kid, and And yeah, it's kind of stuck with me too. And I thought, well, New York is becoming more like it was sort of in the 70s. It's just that we have a lot of income inequality, and the city infrastructure here is really falling apart. I mean, I've lived here for 15 years, and I came here during the Great Recession, and it was grimy and things were rough, but the city, I mean, like shit is just falling apart here. The subways are falling apart, buildings are falling, everything is falling apart here. Because it's just like, so I thought, well, I'm gonna write these songs about New York right now, kind of about like, the griminess and the increased craziness of the city, but also the nightlife. Because when things get hard, life gets hard, nightlife, people go harder.
Yeah, for sure.
They party harder. And people sure started partying harder.
Yeah.
So so the album, I call the album Fear City because I just thought, well, fear is kind of a predominant, everyone is scared. And then when the pandemic hit, I mean, that was scary. There were, sirens.
I'm gonna tell you, Tompkins Park. I remember hanging around with Tompkins Park, and Iggy lived in the high-rise building across from the park.
Right.
And I used to just go like, oh my God, the garbage, the expensive restaurant, and he's sitting there looking at garbage as you eat. And it was just really, homelessness was fashionable almost. It was like there was like cardboard boxes that had sections to them. It was like a big refrigerated cardboard box adjoined with some other, and it was like a little high rise there. And I was like, man,
it's a hobo condo.
And the girl comes out and she's dressed like she's a yuppie. And I go, what's up with her? She can't stay out too. She can't stay and party with me because she's got to go to work, And that New York, she was strictly get up, walked out, and went to work. I was like, oh my God, And I remember Alcatraz, and the Pyramid Club, and it was just really wild. It was wild. Save the Robots. That was after our speakeasy. But I respect New York. I love New York. And my friends that lived in Strong Island would say, wow, this is Strong Island. This is not New York. Blah, blah, blah. I can go on for hours. But I respect New York. I love it. If I could afford to live there, I would live down there. Live it. It was starting to look like Disney World downtown for a little while, but it's not like it used to be. Like you said, the 70s feel gritty. It's incredible. It's really incredible. Yeah. So now I like your stuff. I love your music. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. No doubt.
I appreciate it. Wow, man. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. I love, man. And
you're one of the greats. You're one of the greats.
Thanks.
So thank you, man. You're one of the greats. So I mean, you're a legend. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much, sir. I still have it. I still want to keep going.
You got to.
Yeah.
You got to. I think life throws fucked up curveballs.
Yeah.
And
I'm living proof.
You're living with it. But you gotta keep going.
Yeah.
And you will find a way to make it work, and the music will come out of you in a new way.
Yeah.
And you might make some.
I got a second chance.
Yeah,
definitely.
And he's highly adaptable to begin with. I mean, yeah.
And think of it as it's not. I always think it's not about some people think go peak, and I'm like, you just keep going. Like, look at David Bowie, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that.
David Bowie was never really old. I mean, like, he was like physically old, and his body did give up on cancer. Made his body give up on him. But Bowie, never thought of himself as like, oh, I peaked this decade. Because he would have stopped after Ziggy Stardust if that was the case.
No doubt. No doubt.
I know.
I was having a conversation, not a conversation. It was a back and forth on YouTube on a Bowie video from the David Live album, and somebody had come on and said this was the absolute end all be all David Bowie. I'm like, no, that's ridiculous, man. I mean, man, peaks aplenty. It's not like this is one high point.
I love this approach with Young Americans.
That
album. I love it. Each influence he came through with Young Americans, and I said I want to start a band and go to different cities that felt that soul, that spirit in, and play music that stands, that Sam said signature to, really. So, and Young Americans was really good. I love that.
When he recorded Sue in a Season of Crime, he had that New York jazz.
The Maria Schneider Orchestra.
He had them with them, and I mean, just another absolute over the top thing for him to do.
That track's amazing.
And ended up going back into the studio for Black Star with some of those musicians, I think. I mean, people peak several times. It's not like you, hey. And
it's a journey.
Like LL Cool J said, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
It's a journey. Well, I think Bernard from New Order told me this several years ago. He said, you can have a career where you'll be really big, like you'll be a hot indie band or whatever for a year or two, and for that year or two, like you really blow up because you fit into a particular trend or whatever is popular. But then when that is over, you're done. And he always says it's better to burn slow and have a big moment every few years than just have one big moment, have it all be over. And he's right about that. I think so.
No, for sure.
And
Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, kind of in relation, by the way, to Black Star, the Bowie record, right? Which so on Fear City, I use a Moog Voyager for a lot of the bass synth sounds. So I got a friend who's got a studio in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, right? A guy named Abe Seifert. He's a really good engineer. He used to be James Murphy from LCD Sound Systems engineer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he's really good, and he's got this great studio in Greenpoint. He's got like 30 synthesizers and drum machines in there. So when I do sort of what I call my big scale recording, because I write all the music at home before, but when I go in to really record it, Abe is one of the engineers I call, and I book him in his studio because I'm not good at engineering. I suck at it, actually. You have to know your limits. And I tried engineering an album once, and everything was like off. Record the whole album myself, engineer it myself, and everything was just off. Yeah, if you do dance music, everything's got to
be off with dance music. No.
Yeah, even with industrial dance music, the timing has to be really tight. Charles, you would know that. The timing got to be tight.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the industrial music fans or goth fans or whatever, some of the fans, I don't mean the people making music, the fans, they don't know the musical relationship that industrial music has to disco, house music, and acid house music.
Yeah,
but they're really actually really closely,
and hip hop
too. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah.
And And so, I tried engineering this whole album myself, and it was just like everything is in Logic, and everything was just like off, and I couldn't. So I had to call Abe. I had to bring my sessions all to Abe, and Abe was sitting there with me, and he's just like, next time we got to do an album, he's like, why don't you just hire me to engineer it? He's like, because for what you're paying me, he gives me a good rate, a friend rate, but he's like, for what you're paying me to like fix your engineering mistakes, the rate's the same no matter what I'm doing. I could just record you, and you could just play everything, and I can like make the comps and whatever for you. So he's got all these great synths in his studio. So when I go to his studio, I have all the music written out. I have it set up at home, and I write and compose everything. And I also compose a lot of my music just in my head, walking down the street, or I'm in a club, if I'm at a rave, and a techno rave, and the beat's going, and I start generating a song over it in my head. I sing it in my phone, take it home, work it out. But when I go to Abe's studio, I just tell him, I'm like, okay, we're going to be doing the drums. I want these drum machines. And for these synths, I want, Prophet 5 for leads, bass station for some bass stuff. Anyway, so I want to know, can we get a Moog Voyager, some Moog synths for Fear City? Because I wanted these like really fat arpeggiated synth bass parts. Yeah. The Moog Voyager that I played on Fear City, he borrowed from the guy, I can't remember his name at the moment, but he borrowed from the synth player on Black Star. The guy in Donnie McCaslin's band, because Donnie McCaslin's
on Black Star?
Yeah. So the Moog Voyager, that like the instrument that is used on Black Star for a lot of the synth stuff, which Bowie also played physically himself, is the same exact Moog Voyager that I did all the bass on Fear City on.
So just an idiot question here. Have you washed your hands?
I was like touching the keys, and it's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you think some of Bowie's like
feeling the essence, man?
Finger oils are on this,
yeah.
But that was just one of those things that when I showed up that day, I'm like, oh, we got a new Voyager, and he's like, yeah, I borrowed it from it's the same one that they used on Black. It's literally the same synth that was used on the Black Star record. So that's a kind of a really cool connection.
That's awesome. That's
Thank
awesome.
You.
You've mentioned the Prophet 5 and the Moog Voyager. What other sorts of synthesizers do you use when you write music, and what do you like about them?
Well, so I've got a Roland Juno 105 at home. Nice. I use that. I write on that a lot. I used to play it live, but I stopped because it's very wonky in the middle of it. It starts going, you have to like turn it off and restart it during the drum break and hope it's back up. Wow. Yeah. So you play a bass guitar, you don't have to worry about that. Maybe if your effects pedal goes out, but you whatever your effects pedal goes out, you're still can play.
Yeah.
Your synth fucks up. You can't like go to the acoustic. You know what I mean? So but the way I actually start writing a lot of my music, well, I mean, these days actually a lot of it just forms in my head. I compose and do a lot of the arrangement in my head without even touching an instrument. I used to need to be in front of a keyboard to play, or a bass guitar or a regular guitar. But now I actually write a lot of music just in my head. So I have a home Korg Roland Juno 105, 106, an Ensoniq. I forget the letters. I hardly ever use it. It weighs like 100 pounds in this.
The big one.
The big one. A Roland S50 and a Korg MS2000, which is also my main keyboard for playing live. It's really good for emulating like Prophet sounds and Levi sounds. It's got the Korg sounds too. But usually when I'm really sitting down to write a piece of music, I have the idea in my head. I have a cheap Yamaha keyboard, and I set it on piano.
Yeah.
If it sounds good on piano or acoustic guitar, if the structure of the track sounds good, just play as if it was on a piano,
Yeah.
then it's solid, you know.
Okay.
And you
Oh,
can develop, yeah, but you got to make sure that the core of the song, you know, is there.
Yeah. No, that's excellent advice. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't really considered that. I do like to play back stuff through shitty speakers as well as the good speakers. So I have an idea of what people are going to be hearing when they hear something when I'm
Yeah.
listening. But
Yeah.
but I hadn't really considered the idea to play something on something you know, like a Yamaha piano. That's brilliant. I like it.
Yeah. It's like because I started doing this because I read an interview with Martin Gore from Depeche Mode when I was like 12 or 13,
Yeah.
where he basically said he starts every song on a piano or an acoustic guitar,
Oh,
just
okay.
because before it becomes like, you know, a Depeche Mode
Yeah.
thing.
I know Mark
Because
Walk was saying that he and Ogre, when they're recording, a lot of the stuff they record actually starts out on an acoustic guitar as well.
yeah, I can hear that because Ogre's and a lot of Ogre's solo stuff, I mean, it's really song based, you
Yes,
know.
it really is.
It's really, really more song based than Skinny Puppy. Well, Puppy's stuff is song based too, but Ogre's stuff I think is more songy.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Mark Walk's one of my favorite producers of all time.
Yeah,
So anything he's got his hands in, I kind of dig.
Yeah, he is great.
Yeah, I mess around with keys. Whenever when I'm doing a song or some, I guess, cinematics impact to stuff, I like to use keys. You know, I just figure out a song or figure out a melody playing the keys. But I should take up keyboard lessons. But what the hell? Just for now, you know, I love keys.
Yeah. Charlie, I gotta say, everyone from Chicago calls you Levi.
Yeah.
I call you Charles.
Yeah.
You want me to call you Levi or call you? I just say, you know, it's Charles.
Zachery, this is really funny.
I respond to both.
Joey calls him Charles, and I call him Levi. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been called like idiot, jerk, jackass. Yeah. He's a fucking dick. That's what he is. But Levi or Elvi or Chaz, it's all cool as long as it's in contents, you know, from not being too brash, you know. But man, it's so cool to talk to you. Really, it is.
Oh,
Zach.
thanks,
I mean,
man. Likewise.
Really,
Likewise.
Like, you know, Buzz from Thrill Kill, Buzz McCoy, he's got that feel, you know, he's got the same feel you have. And people don't realize he plays keyboards too.
Yeah.
And he plays bass. And so when I got in the band, I came in and I started playing bass. And a lot of this bass stuff, I got enough of my library of my bass. He would be able. We were like so exact on how we're going to get hold of everyone to record because we weren't in the same city after a while.
Right.
And so I just play bass, whatever, and you take it and you use it, you know, for samples or whatever, you know. But when it comes live, I'm on it, you know. I love playing live, you know. I'm on it, you know, and that's where it is. But I love where you I was just listening to one of your songs, and I like Security.
Oh, no, Security.
Yeah, and I loved it. It just pulsating, just on, you know. Yeah, and I was thinking like what I could play. You know, I've had some strokes, and I had tendonitis in my hand, so neuropathy.
Right.
So I'm getting back to my skills, but not like it used to be, man. It's just it used to be, you know, I can give the best I can, but now I just want to make music and doing cinematic stuff. the thing I have was also for urban soundtrack. It's definitely like trip hop, trip hop industrial. I think a rhythm and blues can go good with
Oh,
trip hop
totally.
and industrial.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're on point, man. I like your stuff,
Oh,
and
man.
some of the bass stuff is really cool.
I appreciate that,
You
man.
got the funk.
Yeah.
You got the funk.
Yeah,
man.
Thank you.
So
you're in the pocket.
yeah.
Thank you.
I was playing. I had a synthesizer, a Sennheiser bass synthesizer. It was only about so many keys, and I was standing there and do a perform, and be like playing bass. I had that. I got spoiled on that, but something happened. Chase got some wiring, so I got away from playing bass synth. But most of the stuff is bass lines on synth. I like Cabaret Voltaire used to do good. They had live bass with synth stuff and sequences, and they add in an excerpt of a bass in there, and then there's a band called Cyanotic, and they I have a track when we're playing and stuff, but I like to keep up with the Joneses, and I'm gonna be on your radar quite a bit.
I'll be honored.
Definitely, I'm honored that I have your time. But seriously, I'm sure Joey's got some questions.
Yeah,
but
I do.
I'm the hype man.
No, Charles. Charles, I saw you play with the Damage Manual when I was a teenager. Very young. Very young. I don't even think I was 15. Damage Manual came because I know. I think on the record it was Jah Wobble. And then
Jah Wobble.
Jah Wobble couldn't do it. I'm a big Public Image Limited fan. So PIL were sort of my my introduction to kind of alternative music started when I was 12. Sex Pistols, PIL, New Order, everything else, including Chicago industrial music. Because I grew up in Columbus, and which is only 5 hours from Chicago, so there's a big industrial scene there. So Charles, when they announced that you were going to be playing with Damage Manual, I was like, that's so fucking cool, man. Like Pig Face Brooklyn Car, he is the man, and I was just a little I might have been an 8th grade or something like that. They had the show was at this goth club in Columbus called Outland, which exists anymore.
Okay.
And so you were just there being the coolest motherfucker, just fucking driving, just driving. You're like you're just like a dope badass Chicago musician with these like weirdo arty guys that you're just there like fucking laying down those grooves,
Thank you, man. Thanks. I'm gonna tell you a Damage Manual. I remember Martin was like, Charles, we need you to play bass for us. And I go, what about Wobble? I want to see you guys. Jah Wobble. And he's like, no, he can't come in the States now. So can you do it? And I go, I know the set list already. I figured the songs out. And I was practicing, I was playing to them, and that was like playing in Zeppelin. It was like playing in Zeppelin. I swear, Jordy, when I came in, Jordy said, that's the man. Not Jordy, the guitar player. He was Jordy,
Yeah, it was Jordy.
Jordy was like, you're the man. You're the man. You're gonna play. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm playing with this guy. And then Martin Atkins, of course, and Chris Conley in an electric set. You know, it's good to see Chris Conley playing, and it was like playing in Zeppelin. You know?
Yeah.
And that's where it felt to me, and that's where my whole vibe, my whole head was at. I'm John Paul Jones, and I'm in Zeppelin's, aka
That's awesome.
Damage Manual. And so my whole head was in Zeppelin. And Jordy was he was like the David Niven of industrial. He was like the David Niven of industrial.
Just a gentleman.
Yeah, he was such a gentleman. He's like, "Come on, Charles, we're going to go somewhere after the show." Okay, that's cool. Smoke some cigarettes. I have my cocktails. He has his silk cuts, you know, whatever. And it was just great. It was an honor. But I'm glad you came to that show. Really, I am. God, I'm doing my memoirs, and I won't put that in there. But man, you were that young. I'm glad I wasn't a jerk.
No, man, it was Charles. I've been aware of your music and all the groups you played in and what you do since I was 12, 13, 14 years old. So now that we know each other a bit, I feel very, very honored to be here with all you guys, but especially with you, Charles. You know, it really is.
Yeah, we're honored to be here with him too.
These guys, I love these guys. Joey, I love Joey, and I love Joe, and I feel comfortable with them. I don't feel like I'm like anything super special. I just like, that's what I felt when I was playing these bands. Kim Lab, Scissor Sisters. I didn't know, so when I would go, I'm not a technical guy. So when I would go, I just go, just what you're playing, I could feel that, and I get the feeling.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. And I'm always down there. I'm easy to work with.
Yeah.
And I'm easy to work with. And I just feel so good to be able to do this now. Because I wasn't, I had sepsis. So, but this interview is about you and your work, and your shit, and you're on. Had it going on, man. Dylan, Chem Lab had the keyboard player was Dylan. He was gifted. That guy could play keyboard. It was almost like he was lazy, but he could play his ass off. Yeah. And it didn't have a bass player. So I saw them, the drummer, their drummer said, I played with the drummer from Halo. I played with Halo Black. And the drummer was in Chem Lab. And so he says, man, you should play in Chem Lab. And I go, why, you guys don't have a bass player? He goes, nah. And so that's how I got into Chem Lab, Nice. So I went to New York, rehearsed in New York and everything. And it was just, Chem Lab, man, that was some rough shit.
Yeah.
That was I wasn't on any of the recordings of their studio stuff, but in the live shows, we tore it up. We killed them live. Yeah. Every show, go ahead. Every show was incredible.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say that I think even if you're doing a lot of synth-based music, so there's like studio recording, right? And on my studio recordings, it's just me. Can you hear me? Or maybe I should scoot closer. On my studio recordings, I compose all the music, I play all the instruments, and I play some bass guitar on my studio recordings. I'm nowhere nearly as good as you are, but I can play.
I'm like, I'm all nubs, I was in there putting on the bass track and I was like, man, I gotta keep going, But I'm still here. I gotta
Oh, that's all right. I was just gonna say, I think, when I play live, I like having a band on stage with me. And I have at a lot of shows a bass guitarist, my friend Frank, who's from Cleveland originally, that I've known for a long time. And he sometimes he does bass synth, other times bass guitar, or he runs his bass with some effects pedals to make it sound like a synth. And we kind of work out some of the songs, my studio, like a lot of the Fear City songs there is bass guitar layered underneath the synth bass. It's just real simple root
stuff. Yeah, like Cabaret.
Yeah, exactly. And so we kind of work out because I like to have live drums when I play live too. So I work out with Frank how to, like, for the low end, work that groove, get it working with the sequence, because we have a sequence bass going when we play live too. And when you have the combination of the two, it's powerful.
It's powerful. It's really powerful. It's good. It's analog. It's warm. Sounds good. Analog tones, effects. It sounds good. We do the same thing with Drone Scale, and it really came to be when I played. I did a urban soundtrack show, and I felt like, oh wow, I did everything, and when I played bass and the sequencer and stuff came out cut through good. And I didn't have much effects, but now I love it. Now I want to do that. I want to do, but enough about me, not about you.
Okay. I do have some I want to ask you, but I'll wait till later. Okay. Joey maybe wants some questions he wants to ask. I don't know. Charles, but I will ask you questions later, Charles. But okay, Joey. No problem. I guess I could talk about me for a bit now.
I am dying to know how you ended up working with Bernard Summer of New Order and what role he played in your album.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna tell you this story. Because I don't know. I've lived a really unusual life, right? I've lived a very weird, strange life, and when I look back on my life, I cannot believe really it's real. And I'm the one who's lived it. So, like the way I met Bernard, really, it's like, so I came to New York like 14, 15 years ago. A Great Recession. The economy in Columbus was terrible. I was like just getting my start. I just finished college, first college graduate in my family. I'm a second generation Greek American, got a scholarship. That was a big deal. And it was just like, Columbus was like opioid city. It was just had like 30% unemployment, no jobs, and everyone I grew up with was like overdosing or in jail. Now everyone I grew up with, half of them are dead and the rest are in jail. It's like, Charlie, you know about that, Charles. And so I just said I got to go to New York. I grew up in this neighborhood in downtown Columbus called the Bottoms. It's really, my mom and dad had me young and we were poor, but my parents love music. My dad is a drummer, so I always played in bands. He played in a funk band where he was the only white guy, and then a biker rock band. 2 bands, So I grew up seeing funk.
Both sides,
and then like ZZ Top type shit. You know what I mean? Like Friday night played a biker bar, and I always go to my dad's show as a kid because we were poor and my parents couldn't afford a babysitter, so I was like 5 years old at this fucking biker bar. I'm like, Dad, why is the sound guy acting like that? Well, Zach, there's this drug called meth, and the sound guy really likes it. And my dad used to play in this one band, and the bassist would always count the songs out in double time. I'd say, Dad, why is Bob count the song? Why you guys play the songs so fast? He goes, well, Zach, there's a drug called cocaine and it speeds people up, and Bob does a lot of it. I'm like 5 years old, and then on Saturday nights he played in this funk band, so we'd be on the east side of Columbus, which was and still is a mostly working class African American neighborhood. And my dad and I be the only white folks in the room, but my dad's a really good tight drummer, and he really taught me about having that emphasis on the rhythm, and you know what I mean. So that is probably why I make dancey music. Growing up in the Bottoms, that's the neighborhood. I mean, the Bottoms is like a real shithole, but it was a multi-ethnic shithole. So a lot of different kinds of, Black kids, Latino kids, Somali kids, Korean and Japanese kids. It's diverse. We were all poor.
You wasn't running up and down High Street.
I was.
Oh,
I
you was?
I started running up and down High Street when I was 12.
Wow.
You
Oh,
know
wow.
High Street.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know High Street.
The Newport Music Hall.
Newport Music Hall.
I
Yeah.
love that place,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's great
Charles,
shows there.
Charles, you know that my first concert, like not seeing my dad's band play, but my first like concert. Well, this is really deep memory. As a matter of fact, I just remember this. My very first concert ever, like going to like a grown-up concert. I mean, I was like a kid, but I had some friends who were older than me that I met downtown. Some like gothy kids who's like, oh, Zach gets the shit kicked out of him, so we're gonna like hang out with him at the coffee shop and take him. It was the first show I ever went to was My Life with a Thrill Coco at the Newport Music Hall.
Oh, wow. You were there?
I was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I had some great shows there.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So
I met Pete Way, the bass player from UFO.
Pete Way, I knew Pete.
Yeah.
I worked at the public library in downtown Columbus when I was a teenager, and Pete Way used to come in all the time.
All the time.
How you doing, Zach? You got the French connection. Yeah.
I love Pete Way, man.
He was cool.
I love UFO.
UFO were terrific, man. Yeah.
Michael Shaker. Yeah.
So I mean, so High Street. So for Joe and Joey, High Street is a street in downtown Columbus, which is sort of. It's really been gentrified in the past several years, which is sad. But
it is sad.
It's really sad. Like almost, but it had from the 1950s really up until the early 2010s. High Street was this stretch of main thoroughfare in downtown Columbus, and it was all the punk clubs, all the hip hop clubs, all the cool bars, all the cool coffee shops, all our art galleries, all the
drunk students.
All the drunk students. Yeah. I went to OSU, so definitely. And that when I discovered, and this does tie in, Joy, with How I Met Bernard Sumner, so we're getting to that, but like, so. I grew up, there's High Street, which is downtown, and then there's a river, and then there's the Bottoms, which is a section of downtown, and that's the really shitty industrial city slum that I grew up in. So when I got old enough, like 12, and I could start taking the city bus by myself, I mean, I went to High Street on a Saturday afternoon, and I got off, and I've been getting into like punk music a little bit, and and I just remember getting off on High Street, and it was like there are punk rock kids everywhere, hip hop kids everywhere, crust punks, and all these like record stores. And it was, I really remember this. I remember stepping off the bus and being like, this is heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And there was a coffee shop next to the Newport Music Hall called Insomnia, 24-hour coffee shop. And I started hanging out there, and I met all these kids. I was in high school, but I met these kids who were in college, who were art students, punk rockers, goth kids, artist kids, aspiring rappers, because Columbus had a very diverse music scene. And, those kids sort of like looked out for me a bit, and they became my friends. And so, I would hear about, cool band, Cabaret Voltaire, go down and use kids' records and get that for $1, or get it from the public library.
Yeah.
And so that really strong, thriving local music scene along High Street is what I came out of. There was a punk club called Bernie's, and I played my first ever show there. The Dickies have an album titled Weekend at Bernie's, and it was recorded at Bernie's. Oh, wow. Legendary. It was like the CBGBs of Columbus. Yeah. So that scene, and when I turned like 17, I moved out from the Bottoms over. I lived right off High Street. Because you could, and I put myself through college, and I started making music and playing in those clubs. All my first gigs were in those clubs. Matter of fact, in 2008, this is like I finished college in 2009, and then I moved to New York. I opened for My Life with a Thrill Coco, but they were just a trio then, so no bass, so you weren't there. But I remember thinking that was going to be like the biggest show I would ever do. That, and the promoter didn't pay us. Promoter put the money for the opening band up his nose, but he did give me a pizza. Sorry, Zach, can't pay, but I'm just like, I know what you've done with the measly $200 we were gonna get. You went out and bought some probably awful drugs.
Drugs,
I got a pizza for you. I got a pizza for you. I'm like, this is gonna be the biggest. I thought it would be the biggest show, So my Throat Kill, you were, would have been cooler. They were missing something without live bass for sure.
Yeah.
But they were. But that was like when they were in sort of a weird, downsized. No live drums either. It was just synths and a backing track.
Oh
anyway, yeah. Anyway, so I finished college in 2009, finished at OSU, and I'm like, I have to get to New York. I mean, it's going to be New York or Chicago. I want to go to New York since I was 5, and I'm like, I have to do it. So, I found an apartment in Bushwick, which is the neighborhood in Brooklyn I still live in, on Craigslist, $400. It was $400 for the room. It was a 3-bedroom apartment, so the room was $400. And I know you're like, what? It wasn't. Yeah, God, $400 for a room though. Now, God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, those were the days, right?
Yeah, those were the days, And I sent the money, and then I bought an Amtrak ticket. Columbus doesn't have rail service, even though it's the capital. It's the biggest. Columbus is a city of 1 million people. It doesn't have fucking Amtrak service. That's how backwards Ohio is. It's the capital city doesn't have Amtrak. So a friend drove me up to Cleveland, and I caught the Amtrak in Cleveland midnight. And also too, my last few years in Columbus, when I was in college, I was doing a very embryonic version of the music I make now. So I used to go play in Cleveland all the time. I used to play the fantasy. I would imagine, Charles, you probably played the fantasy.
Play the fantasy.
There's a big relationship between Chicago music, like Chicago dark music and punk rock and all that, in Cleveland and Columbus. So I got on that train. I went to New York. Never been to New York before. $800 in my bank account. No job. Didn't know anyone in New York City. And I got there, and I walked over the Williamsburg Bridge. Amtrak landed in Penn Station which is disgusting. And I took the train to Brooklyn and got in my apartment. Garbage piled 6 feet high in the living room. My roommate, go in my roommate's room so we could talk a bit, and he's got fleshlights on the ground. He got 3 of them. Three fleshlights of different colors. Like, why do you have this stuff laying
Sometimes
out?
you need multiple partners, man.
I guess that's the way to put it, Joe.
Wow.
I told Bernard this story. He asked me to tell. Anytime I'm out with New Water, we're having dinner. Bernard's like, Zach, tell them the story about your first roommate in New York.
Lord have mercy.
But I took every. That night I walked over the Williamsburg Bridge in Manhattan. I saw the city skyline with my own eyes for the first time, and I just thought, how the fuck am I gonna make a living here? What am I gonna do? And if I don't make a living, I'm gonna be homeless. If I don't get a job, I'm gonna be homeless.
You'll be standing in a cardboard box in Thompson Park. And I was also pretty depressed at the time, and this is really morbid, but I was very depressed. In 2009, right before I left New York, I had a seizure, and I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and that really scared me. I've had a seizure in over 10 years now, but there was this period where I was having seizures a lot because of stress. Turns out the seizures are triggered by stress and lack of sleep, not strobites or anything like that. But I just thought, well, if I don't make it in New York, I'll kill myself. I'll commit suicide, and then I'll die in New York City, and I won't die where I was born. I won't die in Columbus. So at least I can still try to do something in my life. I worked every city job possible. And then I got a job doing working for Sony, doing remix A&R for my day job. Yeah.
This is back when record companies actually, because I was part of the music scene was kind of moving from the DFA sort of dance punk in the Lower East Side. That was still happening in New York when I got there. And of course, there were the old school New York goth industrial parties, which are like still going. Like they won't die. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. But the techno scene in Brooklyn was really starting to sprout. So I kind of became really involved in building what is now the current techno scene in Brooklyn. And like playing shows and doing my live synth stuff with techno DJs and warehouses late at night. And so and I sort of make a name for myself, as a weirdo. And when I came to New York, I never wanted to be famous, be on the cover of Rolling Stone. I never had dreams like that. I just thought if I could be a cool cult New York musician like Suicide.
Yeah.
And make cool records and
great fucking act.
Yeah. I love Suicide.
Yeah, me too.
And if I could just be like, and people in Berlin and London and LA and Chicago will there'll be like maybe 100, 200 people in each of those cities that will know my music. Mm-hmm. And I can make some really cool records that are unique to me. Then that will be, I will consider that successful if I can do that. So I started to make those records and earlier versions, embryonic versions of what I'm doing now. And anyway, so now we get to how finally to answer Joey's question. sorry, Joey. So New Order announced, this is 2012. They were coming to New York for the first time in 7 or 8 years. And they were playing at the 2 shows at the Roseland Ballroom, right? And this was also their first tour after Peter Hook, their original bassist, had quit.
Yeah.
So I bought a ticket, of course. I just been like, I love New Order. I discovered New Order when I was 12, and I would lay in bed at night and listen to New Order, and I don't know, just to imagine a completely different kind of life. Mm-hmm. Like a cool life in a bigger city, hanging out in nightclubs, But also, I knew New Order all grew up working class like I did. So I felt a connection. Yeah, see, Charles, you know about that, If you grow up poor, low income, or working class, it shows in the music and in the feel.
Yeah, and it shows in your feel. It shows in whenever you into whatever music, where you come from, you can feel it. It's just in your soul.
Yeah.
In your soul.
Yeah, and so like to me, like Joy Division, that's Columbus growing up. That's like industrial, urban decay, shitty West Side, downtown Columbus where I grew up. That's Joy Division to me. But New Order was sort of like what I imagined New York and my life in New York. And also New Order's music is really deeply ingrained in New York. They became an electronic band because of after Ian Curtis died, they came to New York. And they went to Limelight, Paradise Garage, and the legendary New York dance clubs. And that is what inspired them to make Blue Monday. So, New Order really New York have really deep musical ties to New York and Chicago, both cities. And Detroit too. But so I thought, I got to go see New Order, They're like, I think, New Order were the reasons I thought I could write songs. There's something about Bernard is the main songwriter in New Order. He also is the main producer, the main composer, and he actually does most of the synth stuff in New Order. On stage he sings and plays guitar, but like 90% of the synth stuff in New Order is Bernard, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought, so he really made me want to like write music. So I thought I'll gotta get a ticket to go see New Order, and like, maybe I can say hi after the show. That would be cool. I could say hey. And so we're getting to the point. I know this is taking me long to get here, but
no problem.
So I go to the show, right? I get there early, and I'm at the rail, right in center, right in front of Bernard, so I could see the whole band. I got there really early, so I could be right there. I was like the first person in line. And you know, because I'd seen New Order once in Chicago in 2005 when I was like starting college at the Aragon Ballroom.
The Aragon.
Yeah. You probably play the Aragon 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love Chicago. I miss Chicago. But,
I do too.
Yeah, we'll both get back there. We'll both get back there.
Yeah,
but,
I want to.
Yeah, you will, and I will too. Hopefully, we'll be there same time together. We can hang out. You know.
Yeah. Maybe
So
we'll be able to get together. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So
I would love to.
I would love to as well, man. We'll make it happen. We're gonna make it happen.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely. Okay, so let me get back to the story because Joey's probably like, Zach, are you ever gonna answer my fucking question?
What you doing, man?
Well, mark of a good conversation is we can kind of go on all these different.
Yeah.
That means you're with the like-minded people, you know. Yeah, and so during the show, right, I'm not dancing. Everyone in the front row is dancing, but not me. I'm like really zeroing in. I'm paying attention to how they've rearranged songs, how they reprogram the songs. Because New Order are always updating their songs to sound like they could be played in a club in the modern day. You know, they're really, you know, they really revamped a bunch of the songs. So I was really interested, and I was interested too in like what they sound like with a new bass player. You know, and you know, because Hookie's, you know, really big sound, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, show was great, and after the show, I go around back. I'm in the alley behind the Roseanne Ballroom, and I'm just hanging out, just thinking, if they come out, it'll be cool to be like, hey guys. So all these people waiting in line, they want autographs, they've got records and stuff signed. Not me though. And this guy starts with me, this tall British guy starts with me, oh, hello, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm good. What'd you think of the show? And I'm like, yeah, Bob, I love the way they rearranged True Faith, and the new bass sequence part on the Perfect Kiss is really cool, and the new version of 5/8/6 and the way they rearranged this part, that blah, 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 blah. I talk just like I do, and I talk a lot. And this guy goes, we've got a very keen ear. What do you do, Zachery? And I'm like, I'm a musician. I live in Brooklyn. I make dancey techno music, blah, 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 you know. I learned about all the cool New York clubs through New Order, through interviews, and I thought, well, all those cool clubs that New Order went to in New York in the 80s, there must be a new version of that in New York, a child of that, and so I want to become part of that. So at that point, I become part of that. He goes, oh, it's really cool, really interesting. Why don't you have anything to sign? Everyone else out here has got like a record. Don't you want an autograph? And I went, nah, man, I just think it'd be cool to like say hi. And he went, come with me. He was their manager.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
And he had noticed me from, you know, watching the show from the side of the stage. Not just the whole band had noticed me because I was just like, you know, like who is this weird guy with the funny hair right in the middle who's like not dancing at all? He's just you know, I later found out they were like, because and he said, "Come with me," and he brought me up. He brought me to the dressing room. He's just like, "Hey, everyone, this is Zachery. He's a young musician from Brooklyn. Say hello."
Oh wow!
And he introduced me to Bernard, and Bernard and I just hit it off. I mean, just like that, you know, we hit it off. And
that's cool.
I said, Bernard, you know, there's other, I mean, like I like Depeche Mode and Nine Inch Nails and stuff like that. And I said, but you know, I said, it's really your work in New Order that made me want to write songs and make my music's, you know, not that they aren't, I mean, they're obviously also Martin Gore and Trent Reznor are great songwriters too. But there's something about Bernard's songwriting that really appealed to me emotionally. I guess it's just that kind of like reaching for the sun, not quite touching it, you know. That's really what New Order's music is about, is the beauty of like reaching for the sun and not touching it, not getting there, and that space in between, that even that failure can be, that's the special quality of New Order's music. But not giving up, you know, not giving up. So I told him that.
Take on that.
yeah. I told him that, and I said, I'm here in New York because where I come from, I'm supposed to be working in a factory in Columbus, or be a heroin dealer like some of my close relatives are, or be dead, and I'm like, but New Order's music really, one, it opened me up to a cool New York dance music, and two, it reminds me never to give up, because if you guys could like rebound after losing your a really iconic lead singer, you can rebound, and here you are again. Your bassist quit, one of your founding members, but here you are, and you figured out a cool way around it to evolve the band,
Yeah.
And I said, that's a reminder to me to like just never give up on what I'm doing, and he really took that to heart, and he and I became, so they invited me backstage, and then whenever New Order would come to New York after that, I'd have a backstage pass, and they just kept me. They just like one day they were like, "Oh, do you want to come?" They were playing the Stephen Colbert show, and like, or not the Stephen Colbert show, the Jimmy Fallon show.
Oh, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, do you want to like come?" And I'm like, "Okay." I thought put me in the audience. No, I get in the elevator, I go up, and like, it's the backstage elevator. As soon as I walk in the elevator, Questlove like comes up and shakes my hand. I'm just like,
that's awesome, dude.
I am nobody. Why? And then they just went back. Oh, here's Zachery, Mr. Starkey, come. New Order's dressing room was this way. And I'm just like, why am I here? But I knew that, Bernard and I had like, he said, well, give me his emails, like start sending me music, send me what you're doing. And he's very private. So just to like, for him to be, give me his email is a really big deal, right?
Yeah.
And I had sent him because I knew New Order wanted to do a new record, right? But we're probably figuring out how to go about it, without Hookie.
Yeah.
I mean, Bernard is the main songwriter, but Hookie's sound, is a part of that. Also when you get a big back catalog, Bernard always tells me, he says, with New Order, our biggest enemy with making new music is our own back catalog. Because if you wrote Blue Monday, you have to make something that stands with that, So I wrote Bernard and New Order's man a very long email. This is in 2015, detailing what I thought a new Order album could sound like with their new lineup. And how they really ought to go back to more of a dance-based sound, arpeggiated Giorgio Moroder. Go back to that, and and then when Music Complete came out in 2016, that it sounded like the email I wrote,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I think they ended up telling me that sort of like helped, having my perspective helped give them a way to sort. Yeah. So then when they toured Music Complete in the US, they invited me to open for them, for the East Coast shows. So I went from playing a basement rave in Bushwick, and my next gig was at Radio City Music Hall in front of 7,000 people.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And and then ever since then, I played with them a few more times, and then they brought me over to Berlin with them right before the pandemic, and Bernard and I just kept developing a closer thing. So when I started to work on Fear City, now we're finally answering Joey's question. When I started to work on Fear City in its original conception was actually going to be a mostly instrumental techno album with no vocals. Because I didn't have much faith in my singing voice at the time. And I kind of thought, with this kind of instrumental techno is sort of instrumental industrial techno is sort of like the sound of the Brooklyn clubs right now, and also the Berlin clubs, and maybe I should like, that's what I should do. So I've written like 7 techno tracks, and I sent them to Bernard, and he was like, well, they're really good. He's like, the next level, they're really good, but he's like, it's really missing your voice, and it's really missing your lyrics.
Yeah.
And I thought, you think I should sing? And funny thing is, every time I would do a show at New Order, the band New Order always watched me from the side of the stage, right? Which I don't normally do an opening, but they would always come watch me. And Bernard would always tell me, he's like, "You've got a really great singing voice." And I would be like, "You're the only person on earth who thinks I can sing. No one else thinks I can sing." He said, "Well, your voice is unique." And I'm like, "Yeah, my voice is unique in that it annoys everybody." You know, I hadn't recognized maybe that I had a special quality to my voice. But he said, you need to write, he said, you need to write lyrics and you need to write vocals, because that's part of what you do. And the same day that he told me this, I was in the Strand bookstore, which is a big used bookstore off Union Square, Manhattan. And I was looking, you know, he told me this earlier, they texted me, and I'm like standing there, and I look up from this book I'm looking at, and who's standing right there but Stephen Merritt from the Magnetic Fields. And I'm a big Magnetic Fields fan, and he's one of my favorite lyricists. And I smiled at him, you know, because I was just like, holy shit, Stephen Merritt, you know. And he smiled back. He knew I recognized him, and he gave me a very nice, it was just kind of like a very nice, like, he appreciated that I recognized him. I wasn't going to bother him. I think he was on a date or with his boyfriend or something. But like, I just thought, that's a sign. Bernard's telling me I should write lyrics and vocals, and I just made eye contact with Stephen Merritt, who's like, you know, like the modern day Cole Porter or whatever. He's just such a great, you know, he's like a Motown level, he's like a Holland Dozier Holland level lyricist in terms of just having it be poppy but accessible, you know. But and clever, you know, because all those Motown songs have just really great, clever lyrics, you know. And I'm a big Motown fan, and so they're big. Motown's a big formative. Yeah, I figured I could hear it in your. I could hear it in your bass.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
The industrial grooves come up, and all the little intervals are where, you know, movements.
It's James Emerson.
You know, that's what it's got to have some soul in it.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And so I played and you know, to me, it's just, that's the way I am, you know. So
that's a big part of my musical DNA too. Motown, and also like Curtis Mayfield and Marvin Gaye, and the Sigma Sound Studios, a lot of the Philly stuff, MSFB, those records. You know, I just
MSFB, My cousin played drums from MSFB, whatever. He's dead. Yeah, he was a drummer, and he goes to me, he goes, Junior, so you playing with the white boys out there? I go, I don't know, man. I'm just playing with the band. I'm playing in a rock band. He goes, yeah, but stick with it, man. Since that's what it's about. You know, play you and enjoy it, you know. And so that's why, you know, that's where I looked at it, you know. Playing with the people, you know. That's why I like David Bowie and Young Americans. He had the song Wind. Oh my God!
Oh, that is such a great song.
That song is so, and he had Roberta Flack and Jack Hathaway and Willie Weeks on bass. That was just like, and I read that
Luther Vandross on backing vocals.
Luther Vandross on backing vocals.
Roberta Flack too. And he went to Philadelphia, and I hung out with the guys who took David Bowie out and around town during that period. And
man.
But like you said, you know, what are my influence? My influence goes from, like you say, like I said, UFO to Curtis Mayfield to like Zeppelin to like Stevie Wonder, you know. Jeff Beck. I don't care if there's anything that's got anything to it, I'm into it, you know.
Same.
That's why I may be the only Black dude in industrial, and I just like, what? I'm just I'm just playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just music,
People really understand music. It's like, okay, when Justin Timberlake and Timberland put out the Future
Yeah.
Sex Love Sounds album,
Yeah.
and like, that was a big pop record, right? It was like one
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
biggest,
yeah.
like Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
not quite Michael Jackson level big, but
I know,
really big
but
pop
yeah.
record.
Yeah.
Justin's the chairman. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So
he's a
I
very
listened
talented
to
guy.
I listened to that record. I was talking about it with some like gothy friend of mine. I was in college.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, fuck it. Oh, we were in a coffee shop and Sexy Back came on. Fuck this, Justin Timberlake. I'm like, nah, man. This whole
Man,
you heard this
that
album?
was a jam. That
This
was a
is
jam.
cool.
Some
I
friends of
didn't
mine
even-
said, yeah. Some friends of mine thought, was that Thrill? Is that Thrilka? I go, no.
Yeah,
That's
because
Yeah.
and I said to this kid, I said, yo, man, Justin Timberlake and Timberland are listening to Depeche Mode, New
Yeah.
Order,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Chicago Industrial, and
Yeah.
Chicago House, and Talking Heads, and
Yeah.
Kraftwerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the musical DNA of
Yeah.
this entire record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way,
Yeah.
man. No way, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, man, Timberland loves that shit. He loves it.
Yeah.
Everything he produces, it's like fucking 2 steps removed from some kind of like you can make an industrial song if you just lower it a couple semitones and turn up the attack on it a little bit, and of course they did an interview in Keyboard Magazine where I showed my friend, I'm like, yeah, see, here they are talking about the influences on the record.
Yeah.
Cool people don't make distinctions. Like, people are surprised that I know so much about hip hop. And I'm like, well, I grew up in a rough inner city neighborhood. Everyone I grew up with listened to hip hop.
Yeah.
Everyone.
That's one of my favorite things in the whole world.
Yeah. And I like hip hop and I love the production on it. Hip hop production is in sort of a bad place right now, but usually it's pretty cool.
I love the ability to layer stuff. Just the different elements and how intricately they can layer something in music. It's beautiful. One of my first bands, actually my first band, Adrenochrome, we were playing a cassette release party back in like 91, I think it was 90 or 91, at a mansion. A bunch of us were renting this mansion out. We were renting rooms in this mansion in Shoreline in Washington, and my band Adrenochrome had a cassette release party, and so it was like a BYOB, bring your own booze. And so I've got like all the goth Batcaver types, like they're all hiding in my bedroom because the Bloods showed up, like the literal Bloods,
like the guys,
the
gangbangers
gangbangers showed up, and I'm like out hanging out with them partying, because we got the DJs out there doing their thing, and all the goth people are like hanging out, hiding in my bedroom, like afraid to come out. I'm like, what are you doing, man? I mean, the music we're making is like it's connected. You don't feel that? Yeah. And I got such a great response from the gangbangers that were there, and we had such a good time playing. It was it was beautiful. It's great when music can come together, when people can come together. I love how it brings people together, and it's kind of sad that there's people out there that are so attached to their image that they can't listen to other music.
It's a lot of the hip hop beat rhythms, backing tracks or rhythm tracks were industrial. Like Rihanna's first umbrella, my umbrella. That drum track, oh my God.
Oh my God, Now, Zachery, with your I've been going through your Bandcamp and the link that you sent with the little track list for the songs they're playing. I was listening to that, and I feel a really strong connection to classic New York dance club type music, the Motown stuff.
I said you got that
Sylvester.
You get the soul of Manhattan on you.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's
you do.
It's wonderful. I even detected, if you don't mind me saying, a slight hint of divine in your vocal style. Your vocal style and your lyrical structures. I felt a little bit of divine coming out in that. It was fucking amazing.
Thank you.
Now you've spoke about some of your influences, but how does that, the 70s and 80s in particular, the dance club, danceteria, stuff like that, how does that play into the music you're making?
So, I mean, I discovered like a lot of that music via the original sort of 80s, 70s, 80s New York dance music, via used record stores, used kids records on North High Street, Charles mentioned the High Street,
Atomic Records.
Yep. And the public library, because the public library downtown Columbus was also where I worked when I was in high school and college. Just all the people in the AV section were musicians. Like, one of them guys I worked with, a guy named Levando Thomas, and he's like one of the top session bassists in New York City now too. So all these people, Charles, you would love him. He's a really cool dude, and I mean, like, and so we had there was a reggae producer called Dr. X who works with Burning Spear and a bunch of other people. He worked at the public library. So, like he put me on the guest list to see Burning Spear when I was like 13 or 14.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I got a contact.
God, I bet you did.
Yeah. Columbus has a big reggae community. A lot of Jamaican people live in Columbus, actually. There was a big reggae club on High Street when I was a kid called Skankland. It was a reggae club. And anyway, what was I talking about? Get me back.
Talking about
70s and 80s.
70s, 80s dance music. Yeah. So I discovered that music via the public library, also because all the musicians and artists, musicians who worked the library just had great taste, and like they had all those records there. I could check them out, So I got a very good, deep education by the time I was 14 or 15. And so that stuff's definitely influential in terms of on what I do, right? But I'm not interested in, and also like Joe, you mentioned Divine, and the person who produced those Divine tracks is a guy named Bobby Orlando, who produced hundreds of dance records in New York, all under different names too. But him and Patrick Cowley, who produced Sylvester, are like two of my biggest musical influences. But my goal is to not impersonate that.
Oh no! I'm not
my goal. Yeah. I know.
Just so you know, you don't sound like them, but I can certainly hear the influence.
Yeah, you can hear the influence.
Yeah,
but not in. My goal is always to like take this music and push it forward.
And you've done a great job at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And over the past several years, really past 10 years in Brooklyn, this incredible nightlife scene has sprung up. Disco parties, house parties, techno parties. I mean, not just in nightclubs, but I'm talking proper fucking full on warehouse type stuff. Like I was at one. I mean, Charles, I wrote you once and said hello from a rave in Brooklyn. I was like 7 a.m. I gotta write Charles back. And I helped build that scene. I did a techno party with Lauren Fax, who's a big house producer, and Rainer Russell used to be an LCD sound system from like 2014 to like 2019, and also doing my own records and working with a lot of people who have gone on to become really big club DJs in Europe. And then the pandemic happened, which was good because the scene in New York was becoming a bit stale. And of course, now in 2024, New York is in this like incredibly, it's very chaotic here. And anyone who tells you that it is not chaotic lives in a fucking bubble. I'm not some kind of crazy right-wing person either, but New York's fucking crazy right now. Yeah. All right, I see people cooking up, shooting up, and like we always have that kind of element. People just, I don't care, it doesn't bother me really. But
Yeah.
It's more so than ever. You know, it's you walk in a subway station and I just 40 crackheads on the platform wandering around, and the regular people who aren't crackheads, you all gotta like huddle together. Like that's a normal thing that happens now if you're going home past midnight.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, you got blocks of boarded up storefronts because the city is not recovered from the economic hit of the pandemic. You know, the economy, like New York's really struggling in a lot of ways right now, but the nightlife scene is so off the hook. So the whole club culture in New York right now, all these techno parties, house parties, industrial parties, clubs and warehouse parties that I'm a part of, that world that I'm a part of. I play these parties, DJ these parties, play these parties, help produce these parties sometimes. This is the child of the legendary New York dance clubs like Danceteria and Paradise Garage and all that. This is, you know, and this scene is very diverse. You know, it's a lot of Latino folks, a lot of Black folks, Asian folks, white folks. It's very mixed, and we're all coming together, and it's very queer. And you know, and you know, so you'll hear industrial music, you'll hear techno, you hear straight up disco or high energy, and so with Fierce City, what I tried to do with Fierce City is two things. As I've tried to capture the state of New York, as it is right now, like crazy, gritty, grimy, chaotic, off the fucking rails.
Yeah.
But I've also tried to capture the fun,
thing,
the seedy. I mean, like, and I don't mean seedy in a bad way, but like we go hard, and we have a good time. And you know, the song XXX, like an instrumental track, but that I composed that piece of music. That is XXX is like that's literally about that's literally about being at a warehouse party.
Yeah, I know, I love it.
Yeah, you have it. Thank you. It's one of the pieces I'm most proud of.
Yeah,
that's
a great track.
Thank you. I'm really. I feel that's one of the best things I've ever done, and I'm really proud of that track, and it goes off when we play it live too. It really goes off when we play it live. But that track is about me being at a warehouse party on a mountain of ecstasy, to be real, and there's people fucking everywhere around me. You know, there's just like those people. I'd be sitting on a couch. They have the sitting areas off the dance floor. I'd be zoning out to the music and open my eyes and like there's a fucking orgy happening around me, you know. So anyone who tells you this type of shit isn't happening in New York, they're wrong.
They're wrong.
Because it's
just trying to keep it to themselves.
It's 7 nights a week if you know where to go. I mean, if you ever see the Al Pacino movie Cruising, which they shot in all the leather bars, you know, that culture is alive. And well, I was at one of those parties last night. Yeah. You know, like and so my music, like that shit, like people going hard like that, you know, and but the stuff is be like it's like a lot of gay folks, queer folks, but then you have some mixed people, some bisexual people, some people don't really know what their sexuality is, and everyone's just grooving together. And a lot of artists hanging out. You go to these parties, you meet other musicians, other producers, you meet graphic designers, dance choreographers, you know. So it really is very much like the scene in New York was in the 70s and 80s. It's a real that was happening when I came to New York too, and now it's happening again, but it's even better.
It's even better.
It's even better. And New York is so good right now. The nightlife and the creative scene is, and so Fierce City is an attempt to capture both the city in its current crazy, chaotic, gritty state, and also the nightlife and the hedonism. And if we're fucked, we might as well have a good time. And also, like, let's have a good time together. Yeah, you know,
you can feel that.
And that's when Ness was down there, it was like that too. You know, it was a lot of partying. Brooklyn was blowing up at the time where you get loft and live in Brooklyn, affordable lofts and stuff, and get on that bridge. But I've been blessed. Luckily, when I was in New York, never had been there. I never had to worry about the, expenses, I just lucked out, I went to a grand opening and I had $2 left. And I was going to go back to Chicago if I went on tour with Bio. And Bio's pretty hard. And this guy with blue dreads and short guy. And he says, Levi, we're having a grand opening. Come. So I went to this grand opening. So I get there early, and it's a DJ. He saw me and he goes, Charles Levi, come here. What are you doing? I said, I don't know, man. He says, how are they taking care of you? And I said, well, I'm getting half of what you're getting. I was kidding. And he said, well, I just got paid. So come on, let me pay you out. I was like, oh, okay. So I went from $2 to getting $300 for doing a guest appearance.
At the party.
Yeah, at the party. And I got $3,500 on top of it. And I was like, whoa, this is a night. And some poor kid got a big ass bleeding tattoo of throat coat. Walked by me and I go, whoa, that's a good band, man. And he recognized me. So he was cool. That took me around. But I had fun when I was in New York. I was intimidated for a little while, but once I went down there with Bio and playing it, my birthday, we were in New York with Susie and the Banshees.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Susie and them didn't play, but we played the Marquee Club. And I asked, could Susie be my date because Buzzy was playing drums for the Indigo Girls upstate New York. So I was there and she showed up at the Marquee Club and she showed up with Martin Scorsese.
What?
And she goes, wow. Yeah. She goes, hey, Charles, how you doing? And I said, hey, you made it. Oh my God, you look like the chick from the Avengers TV show.
And Purdy, Miss Purdy.
Yeah. And she says, she goes, yeah, Charles, I want you to meet my friend Martin. And I Marty, and I said, hi, Marty, I'm Levi. And it was Martin Scorsese. I didn't know that. And we partied all night long. But that was Chicago, New York was like Save the Robots was the one place where you go. It was a 24 hours night speakeasy.
Right, and, it's legendary. We all know about it. We hear stories, yeah.
Oh man, I love that place. I walked in there with a cowboy hat and fucking leather shorts on, and we had a killer time there.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Charles, I have to say the short guy with the blue dreads who paid you out, made sure you got taken care of.
Yeah,
is most likely my friend Chris Smack. He's
probably
a DJ. Yeah,
he's a DJ.
He's a DJ and he does a fetish party. He's a good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, I just had him DJ a party on Thursday night. Just a little party I put on Thursday nights. At this spot in Alphabet City. But yeah, he's because whenever Chris has had me, I've known Chris for 15 years. Oh, and wow. And people, he's got the blue dreads. As soon as you said short guy, blue dreads, I'm like, you talking about Chris. And the aviation and the goggles. He got the aviation
the goggles. He saw me cross the street, and I had a pack of cigarettes and a tuna fish sandwich and a Arizona tea, and he said, Levi, what are you doing here? And I go, oh man, I'm here to do some shows with Bio and make my way to Chicago. And I recorded Black from the Dead. on a $500 budget, and for Martin, and he says, "Hey man, it's a party, so you got to have a pass. I'll get your friends in, blah blah blah. It's not too far." And I said, "Oh, cool. I'm glad you saw me, because when I went to that party, I was like, whoa, it's catered food." So it was great. It was good. I like touring, and it was fun to tour with another band that doesn't have the tour bus and doesn't
Yeah,
have the thing. I just
yeah.
want to be in the band, play, and give the best I can. And it was Keoki, I think it was. Keoki
Oh,
was the DJ.
superstar
And
DJ Keoki, yeah.
yeah, and he was like, Charles Levi, Charles Levi, Charles Levi. And I was like, oh wow. I remember him, but he hooked me up.
Yeah, yeah.
and,
That's funny.
and I went from $2 to fucking shit, 30, almost $4,000.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I will tell. Whenever I play Chris's parties, or his events, he's always made sure me and my band were taking care of it. So I
Yeah.
will tell him that you literally brought him up. He will be really, really thrilled.
Yeah, Chris is really cool.
He will be really thrilled to know. As soon as you said blue dreadlocks, I'm like, Charles got to be talking about Chris.
Yeah,
You're like,
awesome.
and he took you care of. I'm like, yeah, because he's a good guy like that. Yeah.
See,
yeah,
he
is
supporting artists even when we don't mean to.
Yeah,
he's got his button on New York life.
Yeah, and
for years.
And unlike some of the other people, because he's very much in the me, I'm in a lot of different scenes, right? I'm in the punk scene, I'm in the disco scene, I'm in the techno scene, and a little bit in the goth scene and industrial scene. And a lot of people, they only kind of stick in one and that's it. I'm not like that, and some of the people in the goth and the industrial scene here in New York are real I don't know, they're conservative in their tastes.
Yeah.
And they don't want any new sounds, and they don't want any new bands, or the new bands that they like are just facsimiles of my production sense. I'm not going to try to make a record that sounds like it was made in 1985. I just think that's silly. Why would I do that? You could go, you want to hear a record that sounds like the Chameleons or like Skinny Puppy. Go listen to the Skinny Puppy record. Why the fuck should I try to? I'm going to do my own thing,
Yeah.
But Chris is one of the people where he's always got his ear to the ground for new talent and people doing something different. So
he deserves. He's such a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Such a good guy. Totally. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I guess I should get back to explaining how. Speaking of another good guy, Bernard Summers, a good guy. I guess I should get back to answering Joey's question of how he ended up on my record. Joey, are you awake?
I'm chilling, man.
Cool. Okay.
Cool.
Are you bored?
No, man, I'm cool.
I'm worried we're just boring the shit.
No, man, I'm chilling. I'm taking this all in.
All right.
Yeah.
So Bernard says you gotta add vocals and lyrics to the Fear City tracks, right? And then I saw Stephen Merritt from Magnetic Fields in the bookstore, and I'm like, this is like a sign. This is definitely a sign from above that I need to like write vocals and lyric parts, So I did that. I wrote vocals for the songs. I wrote lyrics, and then the lyrics. I thought, this is capturing more so what New York is right now, and so. And then I wrote a couple of new songs on top of that. You know what I mean? And I sent those over to Bernard. I'm like, what do you think? And he goes, oh, yeah, man, this is really cool. Yeah, this is really cool. How about, I've got an idea. I feel like the next day I get, Bernard Sumner has sent you a retransfer. I'm like, what? And he had taken one of the tracks and just like, added mountains of synthesizers and guitar to it.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
He's like, oh, I thought, I had some ideas for this. So this is a song that became Force. And I had some ideas. you don't have to use my playing if you don't want to. Just like,
like, yeah, I'm just gonna pass on that.
What? And
God.
you know,
Wow,
and
he is a humble guy, huh?
He's very humble.
Oh my God, that's
Bernard
awesome.
is everyone in New Order, right? So of course, like I built up this relationship with New Order first by just they had me hang out, and I think their manager Andy had sensed that Bernard and I got along and had a personal and a creative connection, and that like me being a younger creative person who's really actively involved in nightlife and in the clubs and whatnot, could be a good catalyst for Bernard to one keep them updated with what's happening in New York, and two, like to feel creative, you have to have other creative people. And I just think he thought maybe our relationship would be good creatively, and but certainly I wasn't, and so that resulted in like me getting to tour with New Order and open for them and playing, the David Live album was recorded at the Tower Theater in Philadelphia, and I opened for New Order at the Tower Theater in Philadelphia.
Wow!
Oh my God, that's
one of
awesome.
The first time tour I did with New Order, one of the shows was the Tower Theater in Philadelphia. And I just
said,
oh my God,
David Live was
awesome.
recorded here.
Yeah,
and that show playing the Tower Theater with New Order got me going back to listen to David Live, which got me going back to listen to Diamond Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And Diamond Dogs is a very big influence on what will become my album Fear City. Diamond Dogs, the production on it. Diamond Dogs is really an album about 1970s New York anyway. And Orwell's 1984, but like it's basically Diamond Dogs is Bowie doing his Lou Reed moment. Sweet Thing Candidate is literally Bowie doing Lou Reed maybe better than Lou Reed, But
incredible impersonations.
It's John Lydon told me once. John Lydon from Public Image, Johnny Rotten told me once, who I know fairly well, and is actually behind closed doors a very, very sweet person. He's very nice. He said to me once, he said, people never get it, but one of my biggest vocal influences is Roy Orbison.
Wow.
And I'm like, I get it though. Like, all that weird shit John Lydon does with his voice, and pillow, that kind of stuff. That's him doing. That's his version of Roy Orbison. Pretty woman walking down the street, careering. That's literally where. Once he told me that, I'm like, oh, I get it.
My God, so much clicked in my brain right now.
Wow. And he's also a big Chris Isaak fan. So later Pill recordings are influenced by Chris Isaak, weirdly enough. You know what I mean? It's just like, Lydon he's really cool. If you get to hang out with him in private, away from people, and there's no one trying to like, I don't know, whatever, antagonize him. And he's relaxed. He's actually very sweet person.
I would love to hang out with him for a while. I really would. He's an incredible person in my opinion.
He's one of my. I mean, he's Bernard Sumner from New Order is the reason I write songs. John Lydon is the reason I sing. And write lyrics. Because when I heard the Sex Pistols album when I was 12, it was like an exorcism. I liked the Who. Of course, because my parents like the Who, classic rock, right?
I like the Who.
I mean, if you grow up in fucking the Rust Belt, in Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, Indianapolis, Columbus.
I sit in Cleveland for a while. Cleveland is really a blue collar rock and roll city.
Oh, totally.
It really is. With all the respect, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a good thing that it's there.
Totally.
Because Cleveland was like, I liked it. I stayed there for like 2 or 3 years, and I stayed in the same stayed in I guess the part of town where all the cool Lincoln something, I don't know.
Lakewood?
Lakewood.
Lakewood. You lived in Lakewood.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
In high school, I hung out in Lakewood all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I drive up to Cleveland, hang out in Lakewood.
yeah, I would record in Massillon. It was a guy. I had a bunch
Massillon.
of yeah, Massillon, Ohio.
That little, yeah, it's outside of Cleveland, little town. They have a recording studio there.
Yeah, no, what it was a. I went to Cleveland. After I played Damage Manual, the last show, I met this beautiful, beautiful person, this girl, and I moved down to Akron, and she was full of shit. It didn't work out well, and
sorry,
and I couldn't get a hold of anyone for TKK, and I finally said it was some guy. He came to me and said, "Hey man, Levi, you got me in the show free at the Odeon." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah. You got us in because I had someone. No, they said after I got them passes, someone said, 'Doesn't that look like your car, man?' And they had towed his car from uh, down by the flats.
wow.
And he said, and because you remember, he said, I said something like, I said something. He remembered what I said, and he asked me if I needed someplace to go. Where was I going to stay? And I said, "Well, man, I like to, I would love to get someone that knows how to edit and stuff like that." And he says, "I know how. I'm just, it's new to me, but he's told me how to get my own, how to edit and get samples." And he did it, and we did it in this front room. The first urban soundtrack, most of those songs were done in Massillon.
Wow, that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
And some of the tracks, like "Rich Girl," which is a dance one, I went into a like a diner, like a Bennigan's or a sports bar, and these girls were like, "Oh wow, my escrow account," blah blah blah, and I was like, "Damn, I got to give me a rich girl." So that night, that night I got to get a rich girl, and we did it. Me and him did it in his hallway, in his bedroom, and we recorded, and I had the sampler, and it was just great. We did the song in about an hour, and if you ever listen to Sounds of the City, it's just different tracks from different moments of me being in the city.
No, I've heard it.
Heard it?
I have listened to it. Yeah, it's really cool. So it's like, wow.
It was never mastered. And Buzz doesn't know how to explain certain things. He does it just by troubleshooting his own interests, on songs and stuff. And Frankie does the lyrics, but him and Buzz does the lyrics. But I wanted my own album, and I wanted to do it. And that guy, that kid, Brian was his name. He really. I stayed there and watched a bluebird family in a tree, blue jay family in a tree in this condo, and I just sat in this apartment in Massillon. And then I went to the Football Hall of Fame,
Yeah. Right.
So, and then on weekends, I would go to Cleveland. And Cleveland, and then I had my friend, she was a honor student at Brown College University.
Right.
And she was a DJ for the show. And so I got to stay on the dorm, in the all girls dorm.
Yeah.
She sneaked me in, and I got to, stay there and talk to people and got to know Cleveland pretty well. But awesome. I like it was all right for me. It was cool with me. And the houses are affordable.
Yeah.
And and they're really big houses.
They're huge.
And,
yeah.
Yeah. And so, I thought about it, but, Chicago's calling,
Yeah.
but yeah, nothing's like Chicago, New York. It's Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Boston,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
DC playing at the 930 Club.
Oh
Oh
yeah. Yeah.
God,
That's a
that is a
legendary
great club.
spot.
The new 930 Club is awesome. The old one was for shit. The old one was like, what the fuck, but the new one is like great. It's a gem,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But I would love, I love New York. I like New York a lot. Last time I did a session there was with the Scissor Sisters.
Oh yeah.
And the Scissor Sisters is a keyboard player like you
Yep.
and a programmer
Yep.
and Jake.
Yep.
And they
Yep.
saw me at the Limelight. And they started the band because based on Thrill Kill. The Scissor Sisters, they wanted a
That
band.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That makes
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
it does.
And they started the band. Yeah. They started the band as if they were Thrill Kill.
Oh, yeah, they have. It's the same. No, because like when Thrill Kill had the bigger lineup,
Yeah.
It's a total same type of like you just have a hot girl just kind of
hot girl
singing and fucking grooving on the bass,
grooving on this stuff. Yeah, and you got the band.
Jake's kind of like a groovy but big go boy version. Wow, I can really see it.
Yeah,
and the thing is, they got huge in England.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
much
they got
bigger than they
huge.
ever did in the U.S.
They got the music awards. I held that award thing. I got to meet.
Wow.
I got to meet. Talk to Elton John on the phone. They had me in a hotel down the street from Times Square, and it was just and smoking were they just banned it from bars, so
right.
people inside smoking cigarettes, and I'm in Times Square, and just down the street from the hotel, and Jake would ask me, "What's Thrill Kill like, Charles? Come and tell me. You guys are seedy." I go, "You don't want to go there. You guys gotta have some fucked up shit, because we were just crazy.
Yeah.
We were misfits, each one of us, and we just, buzz and groovy. They said, let's make this a club, because we always meet up at night when the bars close.
Right.
And then I go to the studio, I go to tracks and see Al Jorgensen doing his doing ministry, Twitch and Land of Rick and Honey. And so I just go in the studio just to see what the vibe was like.
Right.
Because I was playing too, but no, these are, man, ministry was the shit,
Yeah.
And Groovy was, friends. Him and Al were in the band with special effects. And that's how I got into the whole genre. So when someone asks me, how does it feel to be in the forefront of industrial music? I go, oh, we rehearsed at where there were a lot of factories, but other than that, that's about as industrial I can tell you. I didn't know it was I was doing the interview and so I said industrial. Well, I'm not going on Asbury Street. It's nothing but it's just fucking warehouses, But no, but definitely that's what Scissor Sisters were. They were based, and he reached me when we played the Limelight, which is called the Avalon, which was changed. It was called Limelight, but they changed it to the Avalon.
Right.
And Jake saw me playing, and Frank, weren't paying, didn't want to, they weren't letting people backstage and stuff. And, so he reached me from MySpace.
Wow.
Girls, this is me, Jake, from Scissor Sisters. I want to see you guys, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what? Whatever. you know. And like this, what I did, I went in, I put down, I just played bass, and the keyboard player just played keys, and we talked on the phone. Sarah Bernhardt, and they're all hanging out. And I was just saying to myself, oh my God, Bernard Edwards was there. And I'm like, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And
As a
I was like,
bassist.
whoa.
Wow. Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was saying to myself, wow. And, and they wanted to work with us with Durco. They wanted to play with us, but, I don't know, Groovy's shy. So it's hard to break the ice with someone new though. But
Yeah.
but that was my last taste in New York in the ultra side. And it was ultra and in order for me to have fun, I had to go and find some place in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was different. It
Yeah.
was just all my friends in Manhattan were like, they weren't there,
Yeah. Yeah.
weren't there at all. They had to go to
There,
fucking Brooklyn.
yeah,
Brooklyn.
so there's still cool stuff that happens in
Mhm.
there's still cool clubs and bars and stuff that happens in Manhattan. Especially when I came to New York, because the Great Recession, the rents had dropped so much. So there were all these new venues and big dance clubs that opened up in like Soho and the Lower East Side and Chinatown. And so Brooklyn was mostly Williamsburg at that point, a little bit of Bushwick, but a lot of the scene was, a lot of it was still sort of that. So this is like around the same time, like you would have to be going to Brooklyn too. There's still cool stuff in Manhattan, but yeah, most of it's in Brooklyn now. So like where I live, I live in Bushwick, and I live. If you've seen the movie The French Connection, right? Where they're like, where they go in and they raid the bar, and then when they're following the Italians around in the car, and they the diner, and you can see the Empire State Building. That's where I live. I live in that neighborhood.
Oh wow!
And that neighborhood is exactly the same as it was in the 1970s. It is grimy. It is, I moved here when I first got to New York because it was so cheap, because it had a bad rep. It's rough. But nothing's ever going to be scarier to me than like the bottoms in Columbus. That was just. You're from Cabrini Green, Charles, and it's like that doesn't ever going to be scary like that. I never felt that kind of, why? Because where I grew up in Columbus is really comparable to a section of Brooklyn called Brownsville in East New York, which is really rough. Yeah, the bottom is a lot like Brownsville, where like you can't walk around at night. It's just you gotta always have. It's like that, Bushwick is grimy. But it's cheap and affordable. So quite a few artists that lived here. And then in the late 2000s, like 2010, some rich, dumb college kids and fucking European asshole tourists like kind of started moving in around here.
Yeah.
The rents went up. But then the pandemic cleared all those assholes out.
Yeah.
And then what happened is it kind of went back to 2010 level grime. This is 2020, but now it's going even further back. It's sort of like 1985 level grime now. And Myrtle Broadway, where I lived for years, that intersection, Myrtle Broadway and the J train, which is the JMZ train on Myrtle Broadway, is where Jay-Z grew up. He's named after the Jay-Z train, which is also my train. They call that intersection Murder Broadway. And there's crackheads everywhere. There's a hooker hotel. And there's still sleazy bars where people hang out and you can do whatever in those bars. And those are my regular bars to hang out with. So you have like, you have a lot of street level. You have a bunch of artists, musicians, and punks hanging out, and gay people. And then like, these Puerto Rican and Dominican and African American street guys and girls. And we all hang out and party together. Where I go to these after hours clubs and fucking drug dealers and gang guys in there. But some of these guys I know for 15 years, and they all were really cool with me because I grew up around that environment. I can relate to anyone. But it's just like
I have a track when St. Noblesville Massacre, where we had the French Connection. We have a sample of the French Connection in the movie, and it's a car drive. Yeah, in St. Noblesville Massacre. So I was doing the song in Hollywood, and my friend Shock took it. I said, let's get a chase scene like in French Connection or something. So he put the movie on, and we had it. St. Noblesville Massacre. But that's where that idea came from. But that neighborhood's still the same, huh?
Yeah, it's still the same. I mean, it looks exactly the same. I could say it looks exactly the same, and it's gotten. I mean, it's gotten even. So I moved up from Myrtle Broadway last fall to Myrtle Wyckoff. Myrtle Avenue is the main. Yeah, Broadway. So in Brooklyn, you got Broadway. In Brooklyn, you got Broadway, which separates Bed-Stuy from Bushwick, and then you got Wyckoff Avenue, which separates Bushwick from Ridgewood, which is Queens. That's the border. And so Myrtle Avenue is the main street between the two. And so I moved from Myrtle Broadway or Murder Broadway. If you ever see the scene, they call it Murder Broadway because it's fucking raw. It's crazy. It's even worse now. I mean, I would have said like it was really rough in 2009, 2010. Then it got, it never stopped being rough, but you had some like bougie kids trying to move in. They all left during the pandemic. So 2020 went back to 2010, but now it's like 1985 around there. I mean, it is really wild.
Wow. Damn.
And
it must be fun.
It is. I have a good time. I have a good time. And if you see the scene, the movie King of New York.
I got samples from my first album from that movie.
All right. It's one of my favorites. So,
one of mine too. Yeah.
The scene where Lawrence Fishburne goes into the chicken place and he gives the money to the kids and they arrest him. That scene is shot at Myrtle Broadway. You can actually see the front door of my old apartment in it. And it looks exactly the same now as it does in the French Connection. And then the only difference is there's a Popeye's chicken there now. But And but it's the neighborhood still looks the same. So I moved up to you go up Myrtle Avenue to Wyckoff, right? Which is like where I'm at now, and that's where you get the spectacular view of the Empire State Building, so all where they shot a lot of French Connection. But I mean, I come home, and on my block there's sex workers. I mean, there are people on the sidewalk, not just to a back page or wherever Craig's on the sidewalk. There's drug deals on my block, all the guys double park doing their shit, and I mean, I've been around that, but it's like increased. It's just like the Wild West. No one cares. There's a motorcycle shop down the block, and and I walk by there. I get to know the guys that hang out in there. They're really cool guys. They're like local guys.
Are they riding around in scooters?
Yeah, man. Yeah, they got the
I like the electric scooters.
Yeah. They got. Dude, those things are everywhere. They ride those in the sidewalks, but these guys have an actual motorcycle shop, and they invite me to come hang out, and they're like, it's after hours, very private, very very private, and I'm like, oh God, I know where this is going. I know exactly where this is going. We have some friends come over. I'm like, I know where this is going. I mean, I have seen a lot of the stuff I see and have done. I can't really I can't talk about it in detail. But like, New York.
I feel you.
We all got stories. It's fucking wild. So people are like, you can't get decadent. You can't party. You can't get decadent in New York like you used to be. I'm like, you are out of touch, and I pity you. And the album Fear City is also an attempt to capture all this. And the song, I'm sorry, I guess I should get back to talking about the album. I came Bernard being on it. But the song Fear City itself is really about Myrtle Avenue. And it is about these after hours clubs I would go to on Myrtle Avenue where people would just be fucking out of it. It just out, ketamine, you know.
Yeah.
But the song is basically saying, like, you know, because there was an original version of the song, and a bare bones version that because after Bernard sent me what became Force, I developed it. I wrote a bunch of new parts. He wrote new parts. We developed the track, and then I wrote lyrics, and then I sent him the lyrics, and then he's like, you know, the original opening lyric to Force was the ceremony of innocence is slaughtered or something, was a take on WB8's. It's like, you can't open the song with that lyric. You alienate. I'm like, but the song Force is about how fucked up the America is right now, you know, and how people don't see each other because everything is so polarized. And it goes, I know. And it's very powerful lyrics, Zach, but you can't open the song with the ceremony of innocence is slaughtered. You're gonna alienate the listener from the first line. You can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, right. You wrote Regret. You're the guy who wrote Regret, and you're the guy who wrote Bizarre Love Triangle, right? Yeah, I should listen to you. I should really listen to you. So I rewrote the lyrics, you know, you know, the way this all ties in is what Force started as like kind of a darker, harder techno track, kind of like No Security. But then Bernard added all these big stacked synth chords and guitar. It's really pretty, that da 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 da, which is like a classic New Order guitar melody, you know, like he added that to it. And then so I wrote these lyrics about how everything is divided and people, and it's really not going to get any better. That's why the song has lyric, you know, infinite tension, no escape. This is our future. This is our fate. I'm just saying, like, things aren't going to get better. But we have to see and recognize each other. And you need to recognize people who maybe don't see everything the same way. I'm not saying like break bread with fucking Nazis or any shit like that. But like everything became so polarized. It's like, you know, no one's going to help us. You know, and no politician is gonna help any of us, you know. You gotta recognize your neighbors, the people who live on the block with you. If someone's coming at you with a hammer, your neighbor's gonna help you. You know, not the governor or whoever's president or mayor, they don't give a shit. You need to see each other and recognize each other and be strong together and not give up. That's what the song Force is about. So that became very uplifting. Yeah, so that's a very uplifting song because Bernard brought that energy to it with what he added. And I rewrote the lyrics and the vocal melody. And even the vocal melody, you know, true for the whole, like, you know, this whole true force, true force, true force. Like Bernard came up with that vocal part. He tweaked my vocal melody. I got a recording of him singing into his phone. He's singing over my vocal demo, but he just tweaked the vocal melody with that golden touch, you know? And I'm like, So he lifted that up, right? Like he pushed me to make that song more positive. He's like, you can be grim. He's like, but you're not a cynical person. That's not who you are. And he's right, I'm not. And it kind of reminded me, right? Don't give up. Yeah. I wanted to give up. I was so depressed when I wrote Fear City. I was so depressed. I thought, you know. But he made that track more up, you know. And then with Fear City, I had kind of a sexy, dark groove track, you know, that I'd sent to him because he was like, I really like the album and I like what you do with the vocals and lyrics, and we should work on some stuff together. So collaborating was Bernard's idea, you know. Awesome. I would have never dreamed to ask Bernard from New Order and Joy Division to collaborate with me. It was his idea, you know. That's just like beautiful. A New Order bringing me out to tour with them. You know, I played a bunch of shows with them before the pandemic. That was them. I have no manager. I have no manager and no record label. I've never had a manager or a record label. I'm totally DIY. So, but they really, see me as taking what they helped start and pushing it forward. And they so they gave me a platform. And then, and they're the nicest, coolest, most humble people, you know. And so then, yeah, it was Burner's idea to collaborate. And, you know, years and years wanted to collaborate with him. They're a huge British pop band. And Bernard said, well, he said, I'm going to do a remix for years and years, but I really want to work on these songs with Zachery. And, you know, that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So with what became Fear City, the song, is I had like a kind of a groove track, you know, and he took it and make it darker. He made it so dark. I'm talking, there's some spooky Joy Division type synth stuff happening on that track, you know. He took it so dark I had to write new lyrics for it.
Oh wow.
You know, and I was having a really hard time coming up with the right lyric for it because he kept making the track darker. I think the song Fear City, Bernard's contribution, musical parts on that track, that's the darkest synth stuff he's done since Joy Division.
Wow.
You know, and so I started to think about like, well, what can I really do these lyrics about? You know, I was having a really hard time. And then one night I was like at this bar on Myrtle Avenue, Spot Birdies, as drunk, and you know, and it was very cold winter night, cold autumn night, and everyone in there was just getting lit and basically escaping, you know, the shitty jobs and just kind of what we all saw was happening in New York and how grim it was. And I thought, Fear City, this is it. And so that song, the song Fear City, is about that bar and also those after hours clubs around in Bushwick around Myrtle Broadway, where they also shot the Friends Connection. It's that same gritty vibe. And it's just about, you know, like, this is what we do. You know, life's all fucked up. There's not much hope. So we're going to get fucked up. And it's not in a shameful way. You know, it's kind of saying, you know, in Fear City, you know, we're doing this. We're in this and we're doing it and we don't fucking care because there's nothing better that's going to come along.
Right.
Yeah.
Facing the pound.
Yeah. So that's what that song is about. That's how Bernard ended up on the record. He wanted to collaborate with me. And then I put the record out. I shot all the music videos I shot in sequence over the pandemic. You watch all the videos in order. They tell the story of New York throughout the entire pandemic, you know. Because I shoot a lot of the music videos around the city, usually in the place that inspires the song. I try to go to that part of the city and shoot there, you know. I'm also a photographer, so I have a collaborator named Steve I do a lot of the video stuff with, and a guy named William I did a couple with too. But I also shoot a lot of footage myself for the videos. You see it in my videos, like the really gritty New York documentary street footage. I shot all that. So like, you know, if you watch the music video for Fear City, which I shot at Myrtle Broadway, right? The crackheads, those aren't actors. Those are real crackheads. Those are real crackheads in Brooklyn at night, you know.
Real prisons.
Yeah. So and so, you know, and then in 2023, when the order finally came to the US again, you know, Fear City had come out, it's gotten great press, it's doing really well, it's sold well, and it keeps growing, people keep finding it. And so I've started to, like, No Texting on the Dance Floor is not on the original Fear City album, but it's part of it. It's like a new chapter. Because people thought, New York will go back normal after the pandemic, but it's not. It's gotten weirder. So I've continued to write these newer songs like No Texting and Solitaire. That keep exploring how weirder, darker, more fucked up, but also more fun New York is getting. To the point where those songs are out, but I've got a whole album's worth of these songs, and then you know, so I'm like, should they be on an expanded version of Fear City, or should I just put out sort of a sequel? You know, like maybe it'll be called Night City. You know, it'll be like The Godfather or The Godfather Part 2. But Bernard and I, so we're working this very week. Bert and I are working on 2 new tracks right now. Yeah. And studio in the studio, or well, we're sending files because he's in Manchester. But yeah. And so when New Order came to the U.S. States to tour again in 2023, yeah, they thought, well, Fear City's out, it's done well, and so they invited me to go on tour with them and open for them again. And yeah, and but the shows I did with New Order in 2023, it was just like, I've always gone down really well with the New Order's audience, and New Order is so gracious. They let me use their big video screen for my visuals. Oh, wow. But this tour was, which a lot of big bands won't let the opening band, like, no, you can't use our video screen for your visuals. New Order, yeah, you would know, Charles, right? You've been an opening band where it's like,
all of a sudden, it's like you're not the headlining. We're gonna give you what you get,
Yeah, shitty, but they've let me every time I play with New Order, they've let me use their screen for my visuals, because I have custom visuals for every song because I have a 5-piece synth band when I play live. Mm-hmm. A pseudo recordings, I do everything. When I play live, I got a 5-piece band, and then they let me do with lights, like New Order's lighting designer has done my light show before. And they let me work. So in this most recent tour, the people were like, yeah, New Order said that the staff at the venues, like the house lighting people and the house sound people, were like, yeah, New Order said we're supposed to treat you like we treat them, and that you're not another opening act. Awesome. That this is awesome. This is like a very special thing. And because they have, their record label wanted a different, and they were like, no, we're gonna have Starkey do it. And so what was really great about this tour in 2023 was I've always gone down well with New Order's audiences, but like over the pandemic, and because of Fear City, all these new people all over the world have discovered my music. I'm like having the best time as an artist now. That's what I mean. Never give up. What if I said back when in 2013 when I put my first album in New York out, and Pitchfork passed on reviewing it. I was crushed. Like, Pitchfork doesn't want to review my album. It's laughable now. Pitchfork barely even existed. They're gonna get folded in. Also, fuck Pitchfork. But like, I really thought at that time, I thought I could give up. This is it. But I didn't. And when we came on stage for the shows with New Order in 2023, and Charles, this feeling, the audiences for New Order have always been very receptive to me and my work, right? But this time when they came out, they all knew Fear City. They all knew the Fear City album. They were up against the rail singing along.
That's wonderful.
And I mean, they were like really excited to see my band and I. And before the first show, Brenda's like, Zachery, why do you like try to engage? Because I don't really engage the audience. I walk out. Right. I dance and sing and play my keyboard, but I don't usually say hello to the third song. And then I introduce the band in the middle and I say thank you at the end, and that's it. And I don't. I play my synthesizer and sing, and do my like vibe.
Yeah.
But it's like, why don't you try to like do a little of this?
The audience interacting.
And I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that, man. No, I'm not.
Do the handball.
Man. Fuck that. That's stupid. Well, I do it and it works. I'm like, yeah, well, you're the leader of New Order. That's kind of different. I mean, you could like pee in a cup on stage and they would like applaud it, But he and I started working with Eugene, the leader of Go-Go Bordello, as well. And, he had told me, Zach, when you go on stage, you must make a big gesture. He's Ukrainian. He's very, Eugene's awesome. Yeah. Go-Go's amazing. The current most recent Go-Go Bordello single, it's a cover of an Angelic Upstart song, and I got Bernard to sing on it, and I play some synth on it. So now I play some synthesizer with Go-Go Bordello live on a couple of songs. They had me come out and do some guest synth with them. They're great, and but Eugene told me before the tour, in 2023. He's like, you have to make big gesture to get the audience attention. I'm like, oh, whatever. And but he's like, oh, come on, Zach, you gotta try the cut. So we walk on stage the first show, right? Walk on stage, and I'm like, whoa, the audience is like, we have a very theatrical, the music starts, the visuals start, and then we all go, but I go out last because I'm a band leader. And I do not consider myself a frontman. I'm a composer and I'm a band leader, but I'm not a front. I'm not groovy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
or
right.
Or
Yeah.
Robert Plant or Dave Gahan. I'm a singing keyboardist, and I'm most comfortable describing myself as a band leader.
Yeah, Mick Raymond's.
Yeah. So I walk on stage and I see the audience is like up against the rail, right? And I'm like, oh wow, this is like, but yeah, they usually like us, but this is different. So I walk in front of my keyboard because I have about 30 seconds before I have the rest of the band's playing. I have 30 seconds before I have to come in, and I just go, okay. You know what? They all started clapping.
Nice.
I was like, holy, this stupid shit actually. Every you know, and then like so during the show, every time I had a minute where I wasn't playing keys, I would like, what do I do when I'm like off my head at a rave? I like dance. I conduct my hands like an orchestra conductor.
Yeah.
And I started to conduct because the Fear City songs are actually all really difficult to play live. I don't believe it or not, maybe they don't sound complex, but they're all really hard to play live. And right now, we do 10 to 13 songs from the Fear City album every show.
Yeah.
So you know, it's like so I had to cue and conduct my bandmates anyway.
Yeah.
Because the timing is tough, you know. But I just started doing that. I was like, okay, I don't have to play. I've got like 20 seconds before I play and I'm not singing. I go up in front of my keyboard and I would just like walk to the front of the stage and and the audience go ape shit for it. Nice. And I'm like, oh wow. Yeah, they go nuts. This works.
Yeah.
And you know, the last show of the tour was in New Orleans, and I'd never been down in New Orleans before.
Oh yeah.
And it never been down there, and Charles.
Where did you play?
Where
did you play in New Orleans?
Orpheum Theater, the Orpheum Theater.
Oh, okay.
And which I think they just recently had kind of restored, but it's a big 4,000 or 5,000 seat theater. And but afterwards, you know, for those gigs, I had gotten these two musicians from New Orleans to augment my live band, Scott and Mark. And Scott for you, you know Scott, Scott for you is kind of like he's like the godfather of like sort of the New Orleans electronic music scene or whatever. And he's he's very low key, but he's really talented musician and producer. And his production partner Mark is too. And they got linked up with me through a friend of mine from New York who lives down in Nolan now. And so after the New Order gig, which was just incredible, Scott's like, "We're gonna take you out, boy." I'm like, don't the clubs here close around 2? I didn't know shit. I've never been to New Orleans, but I didn't know shit with 24 hours. They have bars that don't.
24 hours long. Decatur's.
Decatur, Tiki Bar, man. We went to Santos after the show on Decatur. And then we went to Poor Boys, and we were there till 10 in the fucking morning. And then we went back to Tiki's. Because they don't close. You go in the back and it's like the clock goes back to midnight. And I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah. I know.
It
is. It's I don't know. I don't want to move down there because of the disasters, but the lifestyle will be off the hook. You know, when my friend told me that, hey Levi, there's dead body floating past me. And I was like, whoa, when it flooded there.
Yeah.
And he was serious.
Yeah, that's some fucking harsh shit.
It is wild down there.
Yeah, it is.
There's all these abandoned, half of downtown is just abandoned skyscrapers because they were so damaged from Hurricane Katrina. And so I went after the New Order show. I went back down there like a month later to play at a rave. There's this rave space there called the Rabbit Hole. And this girl named Tristan does this great party called Subject Matter. A lot of the New York techno DJs I'm friends with have played her party. She invited me down to do a live set with Adam X, who's a big techno producer. And it was really great. And so I decided I'm going to stay down in New Orleans for like 6-7 days. I'm going to stay down there because I really want to explore. In New Order, we were only there for 3 days. And god damn. And it just like, it was the nightlife, the partying. I ended up in this fucking trap house in mid-city. I was like, I'm gonna leave. I need to get back to. I was staying in the French Quarter, and they're like, "You can't walk. They're gonna rob you." I live in New York. I'm smart, and they're like, "No, you just don't understand." And sure enough, like we're driving around, and there's blocks of nothing. Everyone down there carries guns because they pull you out of your car. And I remember I was down on during the day in downtown New Orleans, and I was taking photos of this like abandoned skyscraper building close to the Caesars Center Arena or whatever. And oh, sorry.
No, I was talking to my girl.
Oh, it's all good. And so I'm taking photos of this building, right? And I'm walking around the corner. There's no one around, And what I see coming towards me? 20 fucking crackheads. They look like characters from the Road Warrior.
Oh wow.
And I'm just like, there's no one around. These people gonna rob me. I booked it. I booked it. I got the fuck out of it. This was during the day. It's wild down there. And New York's wild now, so I'm synthesizing these new experiences, and Bernard and I are working on some new tracks, and I'm like, well, do I create an expanded version of Fear City called Fear City Edge of Night as my original plan, or do I just use these tracks because they fit in so well with the new songs I'm writing? Do I just go ahead and make the sequel, make a new album,
walking on the wild side?
Hey, gang, we have reached over 2 hours, so we're gonna have to we're gonna have to schedule you to come back, my friend. Are you up for that?
Absolutely.
Are you up for that? Seriously?
Yeah.
Good, because we have more questions, but yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this up. Let me ask one final question.
Sure.
Let's see. Do you have any words of wisdom for young people wanting to get started in music and art?
Not that I'm anyone important or that my opinion matters, but I'll tell you this, right? And I think, Charles, you can relate to this, I'm sure, right? I come from nothing, right?
No.
Zip. I grew up poor in a shitty, drug-infested inner city slum. I grew up seeing the worst of humanity on a daily basis. I grew up in an environment where music and art wasn't valued. I got the shit kicked out of me every day. Everyone thought I was gay. I had no friends growing up, not till I started meeting the kids on High Street when I was 14, 15, but I had no friends growing up, Luckily, I had parents in my families. My parents would struggle, but they did the best they could. My mom and my dad are actually really cool people, and my aunts and uncles are cool, and everyone loves music. So music, the public library, and having a couple of teachers in high school who just said, hey, you're a good writer. Did you know that you're a good writer? Or, hey, these photographs you took are really cool. Or, if you like this band, why don't you check this out, That turned me on to music. Music got me to New York. And I've had really a pretty incredible, but I tell people the story. People ask how I got to work with New Order and work with Bernard, and they think there's some secret thing, like there was a manager or some secret label person. And there wasn't. I'm DIY, you know.
Don't
No one's
give up.
ever, yeah, don't give up. No, don't give up, you know, and
Don't give up. Always keep dreaming.
always
Dream.
keep dreaming. Yeah,
Don't be afraid to dream, even if it seems outlandish. Just keep on dreaming. You
yeah,
know,
because
I never imagined to be in situations I've been in. Like you said,
yeah,
there's no way. I imagine someone asked me for my autograph, and my tour manager said they bought the T-shirt, they stood in line, they bought the album, signed it, and I signed our autograph. I asked for autographs.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it, but that's what I like to do, and that's what I tell people now. I don't know what it's. It's almost like you got to be lucky, but you also have to have a passion. You know,
yeah,
got to have a
and
passion.
yeah, and
It may be maybe low. You might be playing in front of two people, but make sure you do it well. Well,
yeah.
give it
I,
your best.
whenever I meet someone who's starting to try to make music, and because I've had a modicum of success, I guess. I feel it now. Now I feel it because a lot of people are recognizing. I mean, obviously, I'm talking, to you guys. I'm talking to Charles Levi. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and Bernard always tells me. Bernard always says to me. He says, Zach, we're friends, but if your music was shit, I wouldn't work with you.
Yeah.
He always reminds me, he's like, he always says, if your music was shit and you have no talent, I wouldn't work with you no matter how much I like you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I meet someone who's wanting to start out in music, right, I say, you write a song from your heart, from an experience you've had, and if it touches one person, if it emotionally connects with one person, you're successful. And
Yeah.
anything on top of that is extra.
Mhm.
And is extra. And I think, if I were to say, what people, I've had so many ups and downs in my life too. I've had all kinds of crazy things happen. And like living here in New York, like, last year where I'm doing all this cool shit touring with New Order, when I have a psycho landlord trying to illegally push everyone out of our building as part of an insurance fraud scheme. I had to go to court with her and everything. And, we couldn't, we didn't have a lawyer, we can't afford a lawyer,
Yeah.
so there's hard times too, but I'm in a stable apartment now, with a landlord who's not crazy on a lease, my neighborhood is still sketchy, but like, I'm on a lease for my previous years in New York. I never was on a lease, always living on these handshake deals. Yeah.
Nice.
So I guess what I'm saying is, I'm sorry, I talk so much, but
That's cool.
I guess I would say, to some kid, because I really speak like Charles, growing up at Cabrini Green, you never would have imagined that you would have the life you had.
No,
and
no way.
And if it wasn't for music, like the question I would ask you earlier is like, and now I don't know if we can even ask it. If we have time. I'll ask it. Maybe we don't have to answer it, but it's like, like what made you want to play bass? Like why did that? What made you want to play bass?
It was the only thing. Music was the only thing that seemed to me universal. People have their different genres and everything, but music was the one thing where I can just actually connect with somebody.
Yeah.
I really, if I liked a certain song and it was whatever genre it was, that person would go, "Oh, you really into that? Yeah, I like that. Why do you like it? Because that's because I feel that way about it.
Yeah.
And that's why the diverse and being diverse and versatility and also always there's always different styles of music, and there's always some music that some people say I don't like that, but it's something good in that song that really makes you want to do it. I mean, if it's a good song, and that's what I want. I want to be, and I want to. if I have something that I can do to make it sound better or likable, whatever, I give my heart to it, you know.
Yeah.
So I'll close my eyes and I'm not used to closing my eyes and playing. But when I'm in that zone, I love it, you know.
Yeah.
And to this day, you know, just music is the one thing that is universal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the bottom line, you know. I know
Yeah.
some guys, I know skinheads who go, dude, Levi, you the man.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, treat me, you know, I'll treat you like I want you to treat me. And that's how it goes, you know.
Yeah.
They may not, you know, that's the way it goes. Always, you know.
Yeah.
If the guy is straight, if the guy's not straight, if the guy's retarded, you know, I want to start a project called Tard, you know, and just, you know, just working from there, you know.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
do it. Just to be doing it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
You know.
are, sorry, go on.
No.
You you know, and you are the bassist of industrial music.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you are hands down the
Mm.
most prominent bass player in industrial music. You know,
Yeah.
like I mean, you're like the face of bass players in
Yeah.
industrial music. Yeah, I gotta say, I know we have to wrap this up, and I continue my thought, but I have to say, you know, my friend Frank, he grew up in Cleveland. He plays like, you know, he does some bass synth, but also bass guitar with
Yeah.
me, and also running through friends to make the bass work with the sequence stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're one of his heroes.
Oh wow. Thank you.
He
Yeah.
has admired you since he was 13, 14 years old. He's seen you play with Thrill Cook,
Yeah.
you know, all those shows you did, because Frank's a bit older than me. I met him, he was in college and I was in high school when I met him. So he's several years older than me. But I mean, you know, he saw all those industrial, you know, Pick Face
Yeah.
and Thrill Cook. When they would come to Cleveland, you know, he went to all those shows.
Oh,
You're one of his heroes.
Oh
And
wow.
you're one of his heroes. Like you were one, I mean, we'll be working on a song and he'll say, well, what if I do something like Charles Levi on this part? And I'm like, yeah, I think that can work. Or I've got an idea for an effects, kind of like what Charles Levi did a little bit in this song and Thrill Kill Cult. Maybe that'll work, you know? Yeah. So, you know, he wanted me to tell you that you're one of his biggest inspirations, and that and thank you.
Sounds like you're gonna have to set up a meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Zachary, you're gonna have to set up a meeting, man.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to exchange numbers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And emails and stuff. Keep in contact.
Right, man.
Joey can hold it down. Joey is brains. You know, he keeps it together. He may not say much, but he says a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, and it's been an honor to meet you, and it feels really good, and it makes me feel very fortunate, lucky to be in the position I am now, you know, and it's awesome. And I'm gonna look forward to seeing some more work from you.
Yeah.
You know, Zach, you the shit. You're the shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm looking forward to
you're
the
the
next
shit,
stuff
man.
you do. Yeah.
You know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
you are this.
So what we're gonna do is we can talk more when we stop the recording. But
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this before we stop the recording. Let me just say this real quick.
Yeah.
I would say to a kid who was just trying to get started, I would say everything good in my life is coming through music. I'm talking day jobs.
Yeah.
I'm talking the best people.
Yeah.
All the best friends I've got are through music. The best romantic relationships I've had were initially founded through, you know, a mutual love of music, you know. You know, you know, my whole incredible life story is because I love music and it is my guide. So I would say, you know, to someone started, I would say never, ever give up on your dreams. Never give up on your dreams, because sometimes a dream is all you have to hold on to.
Yeah.
But I'm
Exactly.
living proof. Yeah, I am proof that if you don't give up on your dreams, it could work. And Charles, you are too. Cabrini Green, man.
Yeah. Greeny motherfucking green.
The stage is all over the world, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Amazing.
And Charles, I'm honored to be here and speak with you. It's a big honor for me. And you say you're welcome, and it's a huge honor. When you asked me to do this, I was like blushing. You know, it's a big honor for me. And as you say, you look forward to new work from me. I want to say I look forward to new work from you.
Yeah.
You know, you will get there. You know, you're gonna power through this. And
I got you.
And with technology, you know, you might have to change use the keys a little more, or change your approach to playing the bass a little more. But like, that doesn't mean you can't create some very powerful music.
No,
for
sure.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Zachery. It's been very appreciated.
Yes.
Zachery's music can be found on Zas Music, zasmusic.bandcamp.com, or visit his website, ZacheryAllanStarkey.com. To find out more about the latest from him. This has been another episode of Industrial Amputation with myself, Charles Levi, Joey Galvan, and in dedication to our friend Jason Lupo, as always. Expect the unexpected. Everybody have a wonderful evening.
Peace.
Thank you all.
Peace.